Ah. Wanna know why? Ask how! Howard. No, you among us. I've written a little something for you tonight. It's a tale of two idiots, George Bush and Barack Obama. It's a tale that goes all the way from ISIS in Iraq to Obamacare. If you're ready, let me try to read it to you. Okay. Barack Obama. It's falling apart. Barack Obama has a promising healthcare program, but he's a bad general. A very bad general. Generalship depends on your ability to anticipate the future. There's a classic French story that shows what a general should be. It's about a general in a chateau, high on a mountain, standing at his billiards table, trying to decide what shot to take next. Meanwhile, down in the valley, 4,000 feet below, are his men. They are slogging through mud. They are blinded by smoke. They cannot see the enemy. They are terrified. They are watching as their best friends are beheaded, as arms and legs are torn off, as faces are blasted away, and all that's left is naked bone. They are doing their best to move forward, and it is anything but easy. Meanwhile, what is the general doing? He is walking slowly around his billiard table, trying to decide what is the next shot. After hours of misery in the valley and absolute luxury up above, a general doing nothing but playing a game, a runner comes to the chateau and tells the general, we have moved to a point where we can go around the mountain ahead of us. We can go around to the left, or we can go around to the right. We can go through the pass to the left or the pass to the right. Which direction should we go? The general screws up his eyebrows, thinks, and has to decide in which of the valleys and passes the enemy is laying wait in ambush. And he says, go to the right. The general has predicted correctly. His men are safe. The silly game of luxury it looked like he was playing was no game at all. It was the general thinking out the future. And in that vision of the future lie the lives of the men under his control. That is what a general should be. A person with foresight. A person with the ability to predict the future. Now back to what I wrote for you. Barack Obama claimed in his first election campaign that he had the ability to predict the future. He claimed that he had what he called judgment. He told us that only he had seen that the Afghan war, the war in Afghanistan, was a good one, and the Iraqi war was a bad one. But on May 28th of 2014, only a month ago, Barack Obama announced to an audience at West Point, where it really counts, that he had a plan for peace and that he was implementing it. From now on, he said, we would no longer go into battle ourselves. We would train our partners to keep the peace, each partner in his own or her own neighborhood. Take, for example, the way we trained the Iraqis, the way we trained 271,000 active Iraqi personnel and 528,500 Iraqi reserves. Then, 13 days after Obama gave his speech at West Point, ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, took a city of 1.5 million people in Iraq, Iraq's second largest city, Mosul. And the Iraqis that we had trained ran away. But that wasn't the end of it. ISIS went on to take Tikrit, Qem, Rawa, Ana, Rutba, Al-Alam, the Ajil oil site complete with its oil rigs, and the Beji oil refinery, the biggest oil refinery in Iraq. Now ISIS is close to capturing Haditha, which is home to an important dam that, if ISIS destroyed it, could flood the country and savage Iraq's electrical grid. Did Barack Obama anticipate this? Was he like the general at his billiard table? Did he show what he called judgment? Apparently not. Meanwhile, what did the wooden man, Vice President John Kerry, the master of stiffness, do? He went to Egypt and announced that we were giving Egypt's new ruler, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, $572 million in military aid and 10 Apache helicopters. There was only one small problem. Within 24 hours came a verdict from an Egyptian court, a verdict giving long jail sentences to 3 Al Jazeera journalists without evidence. With evidence, in fact, that contradicted the verdicts. Guess who looked foolish? The wooden man, John Kerry. Did either Barack Obama or John Kerry anticipate this? Apparently not. No wonder Poland's foreign minister, Radoslaw Sikorski, in a private conversation at a Warsaw restaurant, told Jacek Rostowski, a member of the Polish parliament, that, quote, "You know that the Polish-US alliance isn't worth a thing. It is downright harmful because it creates a false sense of security." Was the Polish foreign minister, who didn't know he was being taped, right? Does America abandon its friends? In 1979, we abandoned Iran's ruler, Shah Mohammed. This paper, I hate paper. In 1979, we abandoned Iran's ruler, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and we got something much worse: the reign of the religious radicals, the reign of the Ayatollahs, the people who chant death to America. In 2011, we abandoned Muammar Gaddafi in Libya after he gave up his nuclear weapons and got a promise from us that we would protect him. What did we get in exchange in Libya? Something far worse: a gang war between militias, with an Islamic extremist party allegedly on top. In 2011, we abandoned Egypt's old tyrant, a rather loathsome man named Hosni Mubarak. And what did we get? Something that could easily prove to be worse: a new tyrant. A tyrant whose courts are sentencing people to death by the hundreds: Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And this year, we abandoned one of our oldest friends in the Middle East, one of our staunchest friends in the Middle East, a friend that, of course, sponsors more terrorism than any other nation on the face of the earth, but an old staunch friend, Saudi Arabia. Just to prove that unreliability is our middle name, we reneged on our red line in Syria, and my guess is that we would abandon Israel in a heartbeat. One result of over 30 years of geopolitical numbskullery, idiocy, is that we are now up against something new. It's a geographic sickle, over 4,000 miles wide. A sickle of jihad. A sickle that cuts from the Middle East in a 4,000-mile slice across Africa, from ISIS in Syria and Iraq to al-Shabaab in Somalia and Kenya, through Mokhtar Belmokhtar's signed-in-blood battalion, formerly known as Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, in Mali and Libya, all the way to Boko Haram, stealing girls, in Nigeria. And the success of ISIS is giving these assembled offspring of Al-Qaeda confidence, energy. We are living through a tale of two idiots, Bush and Obama. We are living the fruits of 14 years of geopolitical stupidity. Bush needed to be less aggressive. Obama needs to be more aggressive. You bottle up ISIS by attacking them early, when they are weak. Sometimes in military campaigns, you need to act fast. Barack Obama is very deliberate. He stops to think. That could be very good under some circumstances, but under others, that may be very, very slow. There are a few positives in the picture. In the face of ISIS, China, Russia, and the United States need each other. Why? Because the Islamic jihadists, the Islamic extremists, are alive and using bombs in Russia. They are alive and using knives in Western China. If we three, Russia, the United States, and China, don't get together to stop them, their knives will soon be at our throats, and their bombs will be in our biggest cities. And there's something else. Obama does show judgment and the ability to anticipate the future in one arena: medical care. Obama's medical system has stopped the ghastly rise of healthcare costs as a percentage of our economy, a percentage of our gross domestic product. Under Republican presidents, those costs had jumped from 4% of our gross domestic product, our GDP, to 17%. 4% to 17%. That kind of cost can kill a nation. Obamacare does not make progressives and people on the left happy, not at all. Obamacare is not socialized medicine, no matter what lies you're being fed. Obamacare hands money by the shovelful to monsters, private insurance companies, people who feel they're in business to deny you coverage that you paid for when you come down with a really serious health problem. Obamacare is the Mitt Romney health care program. Obamacare is Romney care. But Obamacare has flattened the cost curve, something that no Republican president since Dwight Eisenhower has been able to do. It's done this despite its concessions to conservatives. Point number two about Obama's ability to see a problem in advance and stop it. Point number two about his Obamacare. The British National Health System, real, genuine socialized medicine, has just come out on top in an American Commonwealth Fund survey of 11 modern industrialized countries. Yes, the Brits, with their socialized health system, get the best health care in the world. The pre-Obama healthcare system, the Republican healthcare system, the one that people like John Boehner and Mitch McConnell are fighting furiously for, that healthcare system comes out on the very bottom of this survey, despite costing twice as much as most of the other healthcare systems in the world, despite threatening to bleed our economy dry. So Barack Obama may be an international incompetent, but his Republican opponents are domestically so dangerous that they are literally bad for your health. It's time to get over the idiocy. It's time to get some smarts. It's time for presidents to smarten up, and it's time for a bit of smarts from you and me. This is Howard the Humongous, speaking to you from the future, that it's your job and my job to make. Or, want to know why? Ask how. And now, for that ridiculous off button, I've got it!